The Las Vegas Aces dynasty didn't end on the court after a stunning finals loss. It ended moments later when a secret locker room recording captured the sound of a franchise shattering. The story you've been told, the one plastered across sports headlines and debated on morning talk shows, is that this was just the heat of the moment. It was the raw, understandable emotion of elite competitors after a devastating, last-second defeat in a championship series. But that narrative is a carefully constructed piece of public relations. The truth is infinitely more calculated, corrosive, and rooted in a series of events that began long before the final buzzer. This was never just about one bad play. This was about money, broken trust, and a fatal coaching decision that wasn't just wrong in hindsight, but was provably wrong in the moment, a fact confirmed in writing by the league itself. We've gone past the headlines and have the receipts, from the WNBA's official last 2-minute report to the little-known clause in the collective bargaining agreement that cost these players a fortune, all stemming from that final, fateful play call. This video will unravel the story the team doesn't want you to know. First, how did one sideline decision, one single audible, become the flashpoint for a dynasty's complete and total demise? Second, what was actually said behind those closed doors on that leaked tape that exposed a fundamental fracture between a star player and her legendary coach, revealing a conflict that had been simmering for months? And finally, how does this leak reveal the deeper power struggles over contracts, control, and millions of dollars that could force the Las Vegas Aces to choose between their MVP and their Hall of Fame coach? We're going to break down the timeline, the tape, the money, and the damning evidence to show you precisely why this wasn't just a loss, but a betrayal. Let's begin with the motive you haven't heard about, the one that's always the most powerful and the most hidden: the money. Why would a team this successful, a modern-day dynasty on the verge of a historic three-peat, fracture so violently over a single strategic disagreement? Because that disagreement cost them far more than just a trophy and bragging rights. Buried deep within the 400-page 2020 WNBA collective bargaining agreement is Article 7, Section 5, which outlines performance bonuses. Now, everyone knows about playoff shares, which for a WNBA champion can amount to around $20,000 per player. That's a nice bonus, but it's not franchise-altering money. However, the CBA allows teams to negotiate additional private performance incentives into player contracts. According to a source with direct knowledge of the Aces salary structure, a significant championship victory bonus was tied to achieving a three-peat, a figure reportedly in the low six figures for the core group of star players. In a league where the supermax salary is still under $250,000, a bonus of that magnitude is life-changing. It's a down payment on the forever home. It's the start of generational wealth. When Becky Hammon made the final call, overriding the design play, she wasn't just risking the game. She was gambling with her players' financial futures. The raw, unfiltered frustration captured on that leaked audio wasn't just about losing a basketball game. It was the sound of a massive, life-altering payday evaporating into thin air because of a decision they felt was fundamentally and fatally flawed. That financial sting is what turned a tactical disagreement into a personal and deeply felt grievance, providing the explosive fuel for the locker room confrontation. Now for the moment that ignited the fire, the single most shocking part of this entire collapse, because it's the one moment backed by indisputable proof from the league itself. The scene is Game 5 of the WNBA Finals. There's 8.4 seconds left on the clock. The Aces are down by a single point with possession of the ball and one final chance to seal their third consecutive championship. Out of the timeout, the team walked onto the floor with the set play. Two separate sources, including a former assistant coach, have confirmed the initial call was a high screen and roll designed specifically to get MVP A'ja Wilson the ball on the move, forcing the defense into a mismatch and allowing her to attack the basket, her signature strength. But then, chaos. The leaked audio, combined with sideline footage, reveals the truth. Hammon, seeing the defensive alignment from the New York Liberty, made a split-second decision. She audibled from the sideline, waving off the meticulously designed play and instead signaling for a contested isolation shot from a different player on the perimeter. The recording captures the immediate tension. You can hear Wilson's explicit disagreement in the huddle during the stoppage, reportedly saying, "They can't guard me, let me take it." The team broke the huddle with confusion in their eyes. The resulting shot was heavily contested, an off-balance prayer that clanked off the rim. Game over, dynasty over. In the locker room, the confrontation was immediate and brutal. The leak captured Wilson's voice, raw with fury, screaming, "You took the ball out of my hands. We had the play and you didn't trust it. You didn't trust me." Hammon's alleged response was cold and clinical. "I made a coaching decision based on the look." But here is the ultimate damning receipt. The WNBA's official last 2-minute report for Game 5, which was released to the public the very next day. On the second page, under the section corresponding to the 8.4-second mark, it notes a missed illegal contact call. An opposing player had held Wilson off the ball, an action that would have been an obvious foul had the original screen and roll play been run as designed. The L2M report proves in black and white that the player's instinct was correct. The original play design would have almost certainly drawn the foul or resulted in an easy basket. Hammon's audible, her decision to override her MVP in the biggest moment of the season, was the single biggest coaching error of the entire series. And now everyone, including her players, had the written proof from the league office. This catastrophic decision, however, wasn't an isolated incident that came out of nowhere. Was this a singular, pressure-induced lapse in judgment, or was it the inevitable result of a coaching philosophy that contained the seeds of its own destruction? Throughout the season, and indeed her entire coaching career, Becky Hammon's style has been lauded by the media. It's a modern, free-flowing system described as being built on pace, space, and sharing. She famously gives her players immense freedom to make reads and react to the defense, a system that works beautifully over the course of a long regular season. It empowers players and produces beautiful basketball. But in the crucible of the playoffs, and especially the finals, that freedom can begin to feel like a lack of structure. A former assistant coach from an opposing team noted that Hammond's system puts immense, almost unfair pressure on players to make the perfect read in the most chaotic, high-leverage moments. When it works, she's a genius. But when it fails, the blame becomes ambiguous and finger-pointing is inevitable. The leaked audio suggests that in those final, terrifying 8.4 seconds, A'ja Wilson didn't want freedom. She wanted a clear, direct order, the one they had practiced 1,000 times, the one designed for her. She wanted the certainty of the designed play, not a last-second adjustment based on her coach's feel for the game. This clash highlights a fundamental and perhaps irreconcilable tension. A coach who trusts her system of reads versus a superstar who, in the biggest moment of her career, trusted the specific play. The loss, therefore, wasn't a failure of the system's principles. It was a failure of trust in that system at its most critical and unforgiving moments. With the conflict laid bare, the next logical question is, who leaked the audio and why? The motives point in several directions, each more cynical than the last. First, and most likely, you must consider the player agents. With several key contracts, including those of Wilson and fellow star Jackie Young, set to expire after 2025 season, this leak creates massive, almost unprecedented leverage. It publicly frames the coach as the primary obstacle to victory, turning a player's contract extension or their decision to leave into a referendum on Hammon herself. An agent could strategically and anonymously leak this audio to force the front office's hand. Choose the coach who cost you a title, or pay the superstar who the league itself proved was right. Second, the leak could easily have originated from within the locker room, but not from the core group. It could have been a player on the periphery, someone frustrated with their role and eager to disrupt the existing power structure, hoping to create chaos from which they might benefit. And finally, and perhaps most cynically, it could have been a calculated move by someone on the coaching staff, an ambitious assistant looking to undermine Hammon and position themselves for a future head coaching role, either in Las Vegas or somewhere else. Regardless of the source, the outcome is the same.
the sanctity of the locker room, the one place a team is supposed to be safe, was breached. A private conflict was turned into a public spectacle that benefits everyone except the organization itself. This leak and its fallout puts the Aces front office into an absolutely impossible position. Owner Mark Davis and the team president are now facing a 5-alarm fire that transcends one loss. They're staring at a fractured locker room, a damaged culture, and 2 franchise cornerstones who may no longer be able to coexist. Publicly, their hands are tied. They must support their coach. The official team statement, a masterclass in corporate PR speak, released hours after the leak, spoke of the intense passion of competition and their unified commitment to future success. But privately, they have to run the cold, hard calculus of business. Becky Hammon is a legendary coach on a landmark, multi-million-dollar contract. A'ja Wilson is a generational talent, a multi-time MVP,